Hello, and welcome to this edition of Arlington Public News. I'm Carla Dorado.
And I'm Paul Werlin. At Arlington Public News, we bring you stories of interest to Arlington and surrounding communities. In tonight's newscast, we tell you about a local fundraiser honoring a beloved Arlington High School student. We report on the Mass Ave Rebuild Project. And we speak to an Ottoson Middle School teacher who won a statewide award for innovation. Plus, we look at how several Spy Ponder sports teams fared in the state playoffs.
That and more coming up next. Please stay with us.
Work on Massachusetts Avenue is nearly complete. The $6.5 million project reconfigured the corridor from Pond Lane to the Cambridge line to better accommodate cars, bicyclists, and pedestrians. But right from the get-go, people who make use of those different modes of transportation disagreed on how to make the avenue safer for all. And as APN reporter Brenda Mahoney found out, sentiments haven't changed very much.
It's been 5 years of planning and controversy, but with just a punch list of items left, the Mass Ave Corridor project is nearly complete. But opinions over whether reconfiguring lanes, traffic lights, and crosswalks makes the mile-long stretch towards Cambridge safe for all users are still mixed.
I was really excited. It's been just over a week that the new striping was painted, and you're seeing it. It just all the crosswalks are now getting in place, and it's really it seems like it's a done project now. It feels more managed, right? And I think that the chaos that Mass Ave was, this is a community road first, it's a highway second.
But Maria Romano and her opposition group, East Arlington Concerned Citizens, don't believe Massachusetts Avenue in East Arlington is any safer.
Our whole goal was get the plan right for all the users of Mass Ave. Get it right for the safety of all the users. There is so much lineage on this road that people that I've talked to said they're concentrating on the lines and they're not looking at pedestrians. They're not looking at cars coming out. They're not looking at buses. They're not looking at bikes. They're looking at the lines because they don't know what the heck to do.
One of the first things drivers will notice heading eastbound towards Cambridge on Mass Ave is it's officially 2 lanes now. They also have the bicycle lane, and then on the other side, heading into Arlington from Cambridge, is 1 lane. They're trying to prevent people from passing another car in case someone happens to stop and be crossing the street.
Very well. Really big bike lanes, so how can I complain? I'm not sure that the four-wheelers will enjoy it as much as I do.
I feel safer as a driver with the lines on the road, and as a walker, I mean, obviously just having a crosswalk is a very good idea, and it's bright. You can see it now in the daytime and at night, and previously the lines were so faint that you couldn't see anything.
Besides safety, the Mass Ave project worked to also improve traffic flow. However, Romano does not see the difference, especially at the new traffic light on Bates Road.
I can tell you right now, with no uncertainty, it has caused more congestion. My street, for 45 minutes in the morning, is bumper to bumper with idling trucks and pretty angry people.
Town manager Adam Taptolane says they are waiting on new light controllers to help ease the congestion.
They are not operating as they're going to be operating when final. We're still waiting for Eversource, the electric company, to come in and power up the new controllers. And that will hopefully make that flow between the Foster Street lights, the Bates Road lights, and then Lake Street lights all flow a little bit more smoothly than they might be right now.
Businesses and people that APN spoke with are taking a wait-and-see approach, but Scott Mullen thinks that by next spring, the new Mass Ave corridor will be helping all users.
People are coming out and spending time on these wider sidewalks. Hopefully they're coming down to patronize the local businesses. We've got vibrant businesses here. We've got great community here. I really think this is, wait till the spring. I know we're going into winter now. People are still going to be out here, but wait for the spring. This is just going to blow up. It's going to be great.
The majority of the $6.5 million Mass Ave corridor project in East Arlington is complete, with a ribbon-cutting ceremony set for Saturday, November 21st. It will be held at 11 in the morning at the corner of Grafton Street and Mass Ave. I'm Brenda Mahoney for Arlington Public News.
The Mass DOT also tells APN that any remaining work, such as touch-up, landscaping, and the application of high-friction surface treatment in the bicycle lanes, is temperature-sensitive and weather-dependent. It will therefore be completed in the spring, but otherwise the project is on time and slightly under the $6.5 million budget.
In this week's Government Roundup, we hear from residents concerned about traffic light patterns at the Mill Street, and Mass Ave intersections. Residents raised their concerns at the Selectmen's meeting November 9th, 2015.
On November 9th, the Board of Selectmen had an open discussion concerning traffic signals at the intersection of Mass Ave, Mill, and Jason. Expecting a larger turnout than what would fit in the Selectmen's chambers, the board briefly recessed and moved into the Lions hearing room.
So we have seldom had as much input on an issue, especially related to traffic, as we have about this intersection at Mass and Mill. So this board has requested this be put on our agenda this evening, and we've moved in here so that we could make room for all of you.
Citing worries about safety, Arlington citizens troubled about the change to the crosswalk system brought their concerns to the board.
The citizens of Arlington have expressed overwhelming concern about the new configuration at the Jason Street, Mill Street, Mass Ave intersection. In just 6 days, over 700 motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians who drive, bike, and walk in Arlington Center have signed a petition asking the Board of Selectmen to return this intersection to an exclusive pedestrian crossing.
I have flashlights. I keep one in front, one in back. I have a reflective vest, which I wasn't wearing, but I was wearing a white jacket. So I obviously carry a cane, so I'm sure I was pretty visible. And I stepped into the street and dashed back on the curb because the lane to my left was had no moving traffic when I stepped in, but as soon as I was a little bit into the street, traffic seemed to be everywhere. I did that 3 times, and I honestly, in my adult life, I don't think I have ever been as terrified crossing a street. Because when I was in the middle of the street, I felt like there were cars going in front of me, cars going behind me. I didn't have a clue as to what was going on.
After hearing from the public, the board made a unanimous vote to retime the Mass Ave, Mill, and Jason Street intersection lights. Before making the vote, however, Board of Selectmen Chair Kevin Greeley had to say,
We need to be very careful that we don't go, we're in many ways going back to the problem of the accidents at this intersection because of that. So, but when we balance what's more important, pedestrian lives over car accidents, obviously. On the motion by Mrs. Mahan, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed. So we direct the manager to, as soon as possible, with the help from our engineer, to get those lights changed immediately.
On Monday, November 16th, Arlington Public Works reprogrammed the lights back to an exclusive pedestrian crossing signal pattern.
Arlington's Department of Veterans Services recently celebrated Veterans Day with its annual parade and ceremony. APN spoke with the director of the department about the programs available to veterans, both young and old.
We are here at Arlington Town Hall, where we are speaking with Jeff Chunglo, the Director of Veterans Services, and Adam Chapdelaine, the Town Manager, to talk about the Veterans Day Parade and the Veteran Resource Center.
Veterans Day was originally called Armistice Day, and it marked the official end of World War I in 1918. So that occurred officially on the 11th hour of the 11th month of the 11th day. So November 11th at 11 a.m. is typically when all towns will celebrate Veterans Day.
Arlington honored veterans during its annual parade and services in Arlington Center. Local delegates and town officials were in attendance to show their gratitude.
It's really just a great opportunity on this one day a year on Veterans Day to say thank you to all the men and women who have served our country.
It's very important. It's honoring our veterans for all the services they've given to our country. We've asked so few to give so much. So it's the least we can do to come out and honor them on this very special day. But not only today, I think that it's important that we honor them every day.
Arlington's Veterans Services Department also sees value in focusing on current needs.
This is our Veterans Resource Center. We have a couple of designated computers here. Allow veterans, any veteran, to come in and utilize the resources available here, computer-wise. Also tap into different departments and functions here in the town hall that may help a veteran obtain employment. So primarily it's a center. Veterans can come in, utilize the equipment here to improve themselves. They can take online courses. through a variety of different programs that I have on the computers here. Resume writing, better employment, better education, better benefits. Current status of homelessness in Arlington. I'm pleased to announce that there are no homeless veterans in Arlington, and as a state initiative, the state is seeking to have functional zero level of homeless veterans throughout the state of Massachusetts. And functional zero means that within 24 to 72 hours, that homeless vet would be identified. They'd be put in immediate shelter or assistance housing. And then a game plan would be developed 30, 60, 90 days to provide ongoing housing and resources. The next big event will be Memorial Day of next year. We'll be looking to dedicate a new veterans lot at Mount Pleasant Cemetery. So that would be one significant event. And to continue to expand and provide services. Looking to continue our public education, making people aware of the benefits and resources that are available to all veterans and dependents.
With Arlington Public News, my name is Stephanie Francis. Have a good day.
Well, Paul, in regards to the earlier story about the bike lanes, I have a bike commuter in my family, and he is really happy about the way they've configured the bike lanes. There's a nice amount of space, so if a car were to open the door, they're very unlikely to hit a passing bike rider if they are correctly positioned in the bike lane.
Well, like anything, I think it's going to take some getting used to. The new Mass Ave, I mean, it has opposing views too. There's for and against, but I think once people get used to it, that's when the opinions will be more well-founded. I think everybody has to get the tweaks out.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes in a year. You know, give it at least to the spring. The Arlington High School class of 2016 invites students, families, staff, and community members to celebrate the memory of classmate Catherine Malatesta. The Putting for Patience indoor mini golf tournament will be held on Saturday, November 21st in the Red Gym at Arlington High School. Mark Levine from the Jimmy Fund recently spoke to APN about the fundraiser and his personal connection with Catherine.
This past summer, the Arlington community lost Catherine Malatesta, a 16-year-old Arlington High School student who passed away from cancer. Today, we are joined by Mark Levine of the Jimmy Fund to tell us a little bit about Putting for Patients, an upcoming fundraising event in memory of Catherine. Thank you for joining us today, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
Could you tell us a little bit about Putting for Patients and what's your role with the Jimmy Fund?
Basically, I'm a volunteer. I'm with the Jimmy Fund Council of Greater Boston, which is an organization that we have fundraisers. The Jimmy Fund is the fundraising arm of the Dana-Farber. And a couple of years ago, I thought it might be a nice idea to start an event in high schools to teach high school students about the Jimmy Fund and also to raise money for pediatric cancer. And since then, we've had 10 or 11 of these same fundraisers at various high schools in the Greater Boston area.
So you talk about, you seem to, you have some personal connection with Catherine. So could you tell us a little bit more about that?
I met Catherine once. As a volunteer on the Jimmy Fund Council, one of the things that I get to do is I go to the Children's Hospital and I meet the oncology patients there. And I remember, I believe it was in May, I walked into her room and I met her and her mother, Jennifer, and I introduced myself and I asked her where she went to high school. And she said she went to Arlington High School and that she was also going to be the president of the Student Council this coming year. And I said, well, that's kind of a coincidence because I've already agreed with the faculty advisor at your school to run a Putting for Patients event in, to help the pediatric cancer patients. And we just had a wonderful conversation.
What would you think about Catherine would have thought about this?
I think she would have loved it. I think she would have loved it. I think that when I mentioned the idea when she was sick in the hospital but had this great attitude, I think that she liked the concept then. And I think that obviously it would be great if we were just doing the event to raise money for pediatric cancer as a whole as opposed to one person. But I'm quite certain that she would have loved the event and she would have worked really hard to make it successful.
So we know that in the upcoming Saturday we have fundraising event in memory of Catherine.
Yes, that's right.
Hosted by Putting for Patients.
Yep, it's called Putting for Patients, exactly.
So could you tell us a little bit more about that event particularly?
What we do is we bring in an 18-hole miniature golf course to the school gymnasium. That's sort of the central part of the fundraiser. So it's really a family event. And we basically, every community that I do these events with, or every school I do these events, it's a community-based event. So the sponsors come from Arlington, the donors who give prizes come from Arlington, and what we're trying to do is draw on the students at the high school level, into middle school level, elementary school level to come, as long with residents of the community to sort of come together, have a really fun day, and contribute to the Jimmy Fund.
Thanks for joining us today, Mark. The fundraising event by Putting for Patients will be hosted on November 21st in Arlington High School in memory of Catherine Malatesta. For more information, please check out the website of tinyurl.com/AHS Putting for Patients. On behalf of Marla Levine and for Arlington Public News, I'm Koala Shea.
Ottoson Middle School teacher Gary Blanchette was named the 2015 Mass Tech Teacher of the Year. Mass Tech, the Massachusetts Technology Education Engineering Collaborative, recognizes teachers who strive for excellence and provide their students with the best educational experiences. The award was presented on Friday, October 23rd at Fitchburg State University. Congratulations to Gary. Here's a look at why he earned the recognition.
Ottoson Middle School technology engineering teacher Gary Blanchette has been awarded the 2015 Mass Tech Teacher of the Year award. I spoke with Mr. Blanchette about the program and what the award means to him.
At the middle school level, we're trying to teach them math and science concepts through the understanding of real-world problems. So it's teaching them problem-solving process, trying to teach them to be thinkers rather than just doers. To take a problem and understand what the problem is, go through a process, come up with ideas, pick what they think is the best idea, and then initiate the process in order to come out with a solution to the problem. So it's basically they're taking math and science concepts that they might get by reading out of a textbook and answering questions at the end, and it's basically project-based. So they get to see it, they get to do it, they get to touch it.
Can you tell me a little about the Ottoson Middle School technology engineering program specifically?
Yes, we cover transportation, communication, construction, manufacturing. So in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, we have them this year for one term every day. The 6th graders, they do water rockets. So they get, the problem is to take a bunch of materials and put them together to use 100 pounds of air pressure and a half a bottle of liquid to go as high as possible. We do straw towers to go over construction and the forces of that act on structures. Manufacturing, communication. It's basically governed by the state. It's part of the science and technology engineering frameworks, so they are MCAS tested in 5th grade and 8th grade. So the state basically tells us what we need to teach them, but it doesn't tell us how, so we choose the projects that the kids do in order to learn the concepts that the state wants them to learn.
What does winning this award mean to you specifically?
I'm not in it for awards, but it does validate all the hard work and time and effort that you've put in over 26 years to try to present the kids with the best type of engineering program that you can. With the instructional technology that we have at this middle school, this program, not just because of me, but this program is unprecedented in the state. What the kids have a chance to get in 3 years is really pretty good for middle school.
Mr. Blanchette and his colleagues will continue to have success thanks in large part to funding from Arlington residents. For Arlington Public News, I'm Erica Matera Benoon.
And now to Arlington Sports Spotlight with highlights from Arlington High School football and boys and girls soccer. Plus, an interview with AHS Athletic Director Melissa Duglecki, the recipient of the Ted Danko Award for the state of Massachusetts.
Hi everyone, I'm Phil Arcaro here with your Arlington Sports Roundup. Last Friday, the Spy Ponders took on Wilmington at Pierce Field. Unfortunately, Arlington fell to the Wildcats 14-7 on Friday the 13th, no less. For more on that, let's go to Scott Zwick and Rob Anthony for post-game reaction and highlights.
Hi, alongside my partner Rob Anthony, I'm Scott Zwick. On Friday, November 13th, it was unlucky for your Arlington Spy Ponders as they dropped one to the Wilmington Wildcats 14-7. Rob, how did we get there?
Well, Scott, we started the scoring a 1-yard TD run by Matt Woods of the Wildcats. Woods really did it all tonight. 2-point conversion made it 8-0. Then we saw a 50-yard strike from Smith to Roberts to make it 14-0 at the half. there we stood until we saw a beautiful pass from Tom Houston to Clark Ewan. That made it 14-7.
Another high snap. He's going to throw it. He's got a man. It's complete to Clark Ewan on an end cut. And a bang! And a bang! And a ball! We got a ball game!
And the Potters had their chances coming down the stretch, but couldn't quite capitalize, and 14-7 was the final score.
So the loss drops Arlington to 5-5 in the season, but we look ahead to the big Thanksgiving Day game against Arlington Catholic, when we'll be broadcasting live here at ACMi starting at 9:45 a.m. We look forward to seeing you. Rob Anthony, I'm Scott Zwick. This is Sports Spotlight.
Thanks, guys. Also in high school football action, Arlington Catholic lost to the Cambridge Ringe and Latin Falcons in a nail-biter, 20-19. Both teams ended up with 2-8 records at the end of the contest. Arlington High School Athletic Director Melissa DeLugalecki has been recognized by the Massachusetts Secondary Schools Athletic Director Association and the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association as the winner for the annual Ted Damko Award for the state of Massachusetts. This award is presented annually to an athletic administrator with 3 to 5 years of experience who has exemplified the highest standards of their profession and has made significant contributions to their school, league, district, and state. Let's go to Scott Zwick for more on this story.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what the award is about and how the community contributed?
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. So it's the Masada grants an award annually, the Ted Damko Award, and really they just evaluate, I guess changes or growth that maybe they've seen in an athletic department, and really it's a reflection of all of the efforts of our families, of our coaches, of our athletes, of our school administration, who's really united and come together behind a shared vision, and everyone's just working really hard and doing some great things, and it's obviously positively impacted.
So Melissa, again, congratulations. I know you're a very humble person, but that's a fantastic individual award as well as a community award, and we send all our best to you.
The AHS boys soccer team fell to Beverly in the Division II North quarterfinals by the score of 2-1 in a shootout as they ended their 2015 campaign with 10 wins, 6 losses, and 4 ties. The girls' soccer team was also eliminated in the playoffs by Woburn in a 1-0 shootout. The clinching penalty kick came from Nicole Peccio, advancing the Tanners to the Division II North semifinals. Arlington High School lacrosse player Emma Curtis signed her letter of intent to play Division I Lax for American University next year. Congratulations, Emma. That's all for this week. I'm Phil Arcaro, and that was your Arlington Sports Roundup.
Carla, watching that story about the Ottoson Middle School teacher who won the Tech Award, the stuff they do at middle school now, the engineering and the technology, it's so much more advanced than when I was in middle school, that's for sure. It's amazing. It's great.
Well, a really heartfelt thank you and congratulations to both of those recipients. Thank you for your work in the community.
Absolutely. Your Arlington Dollar is a series whose aim it is to shed light on all aspects of our town and school budgets. In the latest installment, Town Manager Adam Chapdelaine discusses Arlington's upcoming financial challenges and the role of the Long Range Planning Committee.
Hello everyone, I'm James Milan, and I am here in the Town Manager's offices with our Town Manager, Adam Chapdelaine. As always, a pleasure to talk to you, Adam.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Just wanted to ask you to begin with, just give us a sense of, well, what's happening right now in terms of the budget cycle that, of course, will culminate with town meeting ratifying that budget in the spring. But what's happening now and likely to be going on in the next weeks and months?
The departments, the town departments and the school department in my office are working on crunching all the numbers. The more external facing, but still somewhat more of an internal discussion, starts to take place at the Long Range Planning Committee and then eventually builds up to the Budget and Revenue Task Force, which is a larger and more widely publicized meeting. And what happens at Long Range Planning and then eventually at Budget and Revenue Task Force are the discussions and then ultimately the decisions about the guiding principles of our long-range financial planning.
How much thought right now and how many are there plans in development for trimming expenses, so perhaps to forestall the need for an override, or how does that kind of thing get figured out or figured in?
So that's really what's at the center of the long-range planning committee discussions. So when the override was passed in 2011, the high-level agreements were general education could grow at 3.5%, special education could grow at 7% based on historical averages, and town budgets could grow at 3.5%. Those being sort of the discretionary spending. Health insurance, retirement, there were caps on those. They're less discretionary. If they are exceeded, we would need to consider taking money out of either the town or school operating budgets. Going forward, so FYs 12, 13, 14, 15, we kept those 3.5% and 7% caps, as I mentioned. In FY16, this current fiscal year, about a year ago, we started talking about just what you laid out. Should we start to think about trying to curb those rates of growth a little bit to extend as far as possible the period under which we wouldn't need to look for an override? So that will once again be discussed over the course of this fall with the Long Range Planning Committee. But it definitely, that is how we're looking at how can we squeeze the life of the 2011 override as far as possible while maintaining the level of services that were promised in 2011. So that's the balance we look at. So between now and the end of the calendar year, the Long Range Planning Committee will probably meet 2 to 3 more times, and that's where we will make, basically we'll collectively make a decision about what those percentage growth numbers will be for town and school, whether or not we're going to take a second look at what we allow for the growth factor in terms of new students coming into the district. And then we'll report that out at a Budget and Revenue Task Force meeting, and it will be what guides the town manager's budget submission on January 15th. Same for the school department. So that's really, those are the guiding decision points between now and February. And then really the big decision points come on behalf of the Finance Committee and then ultimately town meeting when they're asked to to consider adopting the budget in April and May.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
No, my pleasure.
We always appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see you again soon.
Absolutely.
For your Arlington Dollar, Arlington Public News, and Arlington Community Media, I'm James Milan with Adam Chapdelaine, and thanks for joining us.
The Paris terror attacks that happened last weekend shocked the world. APN intern Koala She, along with French Arlingtonian Yawa Degbo, share their personal reactions to the Paris attacks.
Last weekend, for the second time this year, terrorism once again struck in the heart of France. On the night of Friday, November 13, 6 attacks occurred across the center of Paris, leaving 129 dead and at least 355 wounded. French President François Hollande declared a state of emergency and ordered French borders closed immediately after attack. Intensive investigation and police raids are still ongoing in Paris and beyond. On Wednesday, November 18, the purported mastermind of the attacks was killed by police in suburban Paris. 9 suspects were arrested earlier and are being held in Belgium. This is also something that matters a lot to me personally. I was fortunate enough to spend a college semester abroad in Paris last fall. I left France just a couple of days before the Charlie Hebdo attack, and it's very hard to believe this kind of thing could hit France twice in a year. My beloved friends in Paris feel the same way. One of my reported friends there was actually 1,000 meters away from the barricade outside the Bataclan when this happened, and was stuck in his office all night, constantly aware of the sound of police cars passing by. I also got in touch with the host family I had stayed with in Paris to find out if everyone was okay. My host mother told me, "What happened in Paris was absolutely terrible, and we are thinking of all the victims, those who died and were wounded." Words cannot describe the feeling of crisis that most French people are feeling at this time. I myself am very shaken by this, as are many people in the States and around the globe. We grieve alongside all those who have suffered and suffer still. For Arlington Public News, I'm Koala She.
My partner is from France, and his brother is a police officer in that district of Paris.
That must have been very challenging and difficult for him.
It was very challenging. It was difficult for everyone, but we were talking about that, and they said, as difficult as this one was, and in so many ways worse, the first one was much more terrifying for them because they knew the terrorists were at large. They knew they were around, and they really felt in danger. This time they thought all the terrorists had perished, and we know that's not true, but.
Well, our hearts, they certainly go out, and our thoughts and our prayers certainly go out to all the people in France as well as all the French nationals around the world.
Thank you for joining us this week to explore local events and issues around Arlington. Check out extended interviews and our latest segments on the web at news.acmi.tv.
And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Arlington Public.
Please join us next time for another edition of Arlington Public News. I'm Carla Dorado.
And I'm Paul Whirling. See you next time.